Hi, I'm Misty with IELTSUSA, and this video covers an overview of the reading section of the IELTS General Training Test. The IELTS General Training Test has 3 sections. Each section contains passages on general interest topics that come from authentic text, such as newspapers, magazines, company handbooks, and official documents. The passages in all 3 sections will equal between 2,150 words and 2,750 words. There are 40 questions in the reading section, and these questions are meant to assess a variety of reading skills. So reading for gist, reading for main idea and details, reading to understand inferences and applied meanings, and then being able to recognize the writer's opinion and follow the development of an argument. The reading section is 60 minutes long. Let's take a look at each section of the reading test. Section 1 has 2 or 3 short factual texts that are on topics relating to everyday life. So for example, you might find hotel advertisements. Section 2 has 2 short factual texts that relate to work topics. For example, applying for a job or job advertisements. Then the third section has 1 longer, more complex text. The topic is of general interest. It could, for example, be an article about the history of a country. So here's an example of section 1, and as you see, there are a collection of different advertisements on different language courses. Here's an example of section 2. Remember, there are 2 short passages, so this is one of the 2, and this one is on internships, and then there would be a second passage relating to something relating to work as well. And then here's an example of what the passage might look like for the third section, where you have the longer, more complex text. And this one happens to be about traffic behavior. There are several different question types that you might find on there. Each section will have a few question types. So you might have fill in the gaps, whether it's in a text or a table, matching features or matching headings, complete sentences, short answers to open questions, multiple choice, true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given, summary completion, or categorizing, classifying, or you might have labeling. Let's just take a look at a few examples of some of the more common question types. So matching headings asks you to look at a list of headings and determine which paragraph or section of the passage matches which heading. So here's really asking you to be able to quickly identify the main idea of the paragraph. Section B is provided, so there's always an example on there, and I find that usually the one that is given is the more challenging one. But what you're wanting to do is to look at the list of headings, figure out what the keywords are, and then try to match it to the topic sentence. So just as another example here, A matches Roman numeral 3. And to answer the matching heading questions, we don't even need to read every single word of the passage. We just need to look at the first 1 or 2 sentences, which are called the topic sentences, and try to match those with the list of headings. Another example of a question type you might find is sentence completion. And when you do have sentence completion, the questions are asked in the order that they appear in the passage. So the answer to the first question in the group will be found in the text before the answer to the second question. And then this task type may be used with any type of text. So it could be in any of the sections. You might also have multiple choice, and for multiple choice, there's a couple of ways that it might appear. You might be asked to choose the best answer from 4 options, the best 2 answers from 5 options, or the best 3 answers from 7 options. These questions are also usually in the same order that they appear in the text. Another example of a question type is true, false, not given. And for true, false, not given, you're being asked to identify factual information that's in the passage. So true means that the statement agrees with the information in the passage. False means that the statement contradicts. So it can't be true because it goes against what's in the passage. And then not given means that there's no information that's provided, so you can't determine whether it's true or whether it's false. And then here's another example of a question type, which is form completion. And on this one, the answers will not necessarily appear in the order that they are in the passage, but usually when you have form completion, it's not asking you to pull information from the entire text, but usually just a section of the text. Reading skills are assessed by giving 1 point to every question. So there's a possible 40 points that you can get for the reading section. Poor spelling and grammar are penalized, which means that if you do have a sentence completion task, then if you have something spelled incorrectly, you do not get a point. And the same is true for grammar. So if you have a sentence completion task and you're adding in a verb, but based on the rest of the sentence, you should have had it in the noun form, that would also not be counted as correct. The good news is that you're not counted off for mistakes. So you always want to try to guess an answer if you're not sure. Scores are reported as a whole band or a half band. And here I have a table that just shows you the average number of points that you need to achieve your band score. So if your goal is a band score 6, for example, you only need to get 23 out of the 40 correct. So I think it's really helpful to keep this in mind because there definitely will be questions that you don't know how to answer. And realizing that you only need to get 23 correct, that you're only looking for just a little bit more than half correct to achieve your goal, I think kind of lessens the stress a little bit. So let's look at some advice for the reading test. Make sure that you survey the text to get a main idea of what it's about before you jump in. Those topic sentences, the first sentence or second sentence of each paragraph, will give you a good idea of what that paragraph is about. So pay attention to those and underline them as you read. Analyze the questions, underline the keywords, find the answers. When you're looking for the answers, consider synonyms. Because not always will you have the exact same words in the passage as in the question. So you need to be able to think about words that might mean something that's the same, but that are different words. And then put your answers directly on the answer sheet. You don't have any extra time at the end of the reading section to transfer your answers. And check to ensure all instructions were followed, especially if there are any instructions that tell you how many words you can enter into like the form completion or the sentence completion tasks. You want to be sure that you're following those instructions. And then time management is really important. Don't spend more than 20 minutes on each section. As you prepare, make sure that you're reading every day. Really reading anything. In addition to books, look at newspaper articles, magazine articles, anything that you can find online to read is great. Don't just read to try to understand every single word. Read as quickly as you can. So give yourself some challenges where you try to read something very quickly, and looking for specific information as well quickly will help build the skills that you need to do well on the reading section. Finally, my last piece of advice is to create a personal dictionary. I attended a conference one time and there was a speaker who was in her 50s, and she was talking about her own journey learning English. She didn't start learning English until she was 30, and I was really surprised because not only did she have a very minimal accent, but her vocabulary was really broad. So she talked about how she achieved her goal of being proficient in English by creating this personal dictionary. And she would write down words that she learned in her dictionary, write down the definition, and also write down the sentence that she found it in. And what she found was that every time that she would come across the word again, if she didn't remember what the word was, she'd go back to her dictionary and add it a second or third time if needed. And she found that it often took her 3 times to encounter that same word and put it in her dictionary before she mastered it and learned it. So I think that's a great piece of advice to make sure that you're keeping track of the new words that you're looking up in the dictionary. If you'd like some more resources, check out our test taker page and email us if you have any questions.